Shut up and sit down.
It's championship time. It's the last round of the ChampCar iRacing series here at Sebring in the street stock. Two drivers in contention for the championship, both of them present, both of them going to lock horns for 60 minutes of racing here on iRacing with a lot on the line. $1,500 of ChampCar credit will go to our season champion, and it still could be either of Alex Albert or Mark McCormick. Thanks for joining us here on HJBC for live coverage of this event, the official iRacing series of the ChampCar Endurance Series. I'm David Haynes, joined by Devin Peters. Got Michael Derby, as all season, behind the scenes, producing our fantastic coverage. Devin, you can't help but be excited. There's a lot on the line. We've had some fantastic racing this season, some really strong participation, and for all of it to come down to the line at the final round, who could pick up a very, very valuable prize and some bragging rights too. The way that this has been fought over 16 rounds, prizes be damned, you would be very, very proud to be the winner.
Absolutely, and it has been impressive driving from both of our contenders all throughout the season. You got to say, Alex Albert has shown up for nearly every single round this year, has kind of put in the time. He's going to be using every single one of those drop weeks if he hopes to hold on against Mark McCormick, who's taken the lead in the last round and doesn't have any real-world on-track experience yet from what we understand, but is looking to use this iRacing ChampCar scholarship to try and take his virtual experience onto a real track.
And it's so, I think, perfect for the goals of this championship that is the battle we have coming into the final round. We've got Alex Albert. He's gone from iRacer to maybe a little bit of a ChampCar Endurance Series hotshot over the last couple of years, but he has had several years in the ChampCar Endurance Series. And so he's one of the ChampCar members competing here on iRacing, going up against a very strong, very well-performing sim racer, hoping to get out wheel to wheel in some real racing. That is just so perfect to have those two up against each other in this championship. That's the point of this series. It's that mingling between the sim racers and the iRacing world, and the ChampCar members getting together, racing each other on a weekday night, and also, getting to chat with some other ChampCar members they might not otherwise. It's a good social event too for many of the drivers that we've had show up round after round since the start of the season.
Yeah, the racing's always a good time at a ChampCar event, but the chatting and the drinks in the pits between the races and after the races, that's a pretty good time too, and we get to have both of those every Wednesday night out here. So it's been an absolute pleasure, and I think that there's no better canvas for this final round to happen on than street stocks at Sebring. A goofy left-hand turning car that we're making turn right, driving across the bumpiest surface you could possibly imagine, and every single spoiler between these guys at the end of the race. It ought to be a good one.
And talking of those drivers who've participated week in, week out, round after round for approaching all 16 of them, there's a prize on the line for those guys as well. Everyone who completed at least 12 races is going to get their name in a hat to get drawn. Someone from that pool will also get an equally valuable prize in the ChampCar Endurance Series, up to it's a free entry into a race of their choice, up to $1,500 ChampCar dollars, $1,500 US. That is very, very valuable. And Devin, like you've pointed out to me, that's actually a growing number of drivers that are going to be in that hat.
Yeah, last year there were 14 drivers in the pool when all was said and done, and we've got 19 drivers that are eligible as we head into the final round right now.
Now, I do believe at the end of last season, so at the very start of this year, they had Bob Varsha draw the names from the hat, if I recall correctly. I wonder how on earth they're gonna top that. Our friends and supporters at the ChampCar Endurance Series. After all of that, you'd feel a bit let down if it was just Bill Strong, but I wouldn't feel let down if it was my name that got drawn out of that hat. It won't be, obviously, because I've been here in the commentary booth with you guys and not racing, but I think, what a valuable prize.
Yeah, it's awesome. And for a guy like Mark, it could be your first step into the series. It could be your first step into real world racing, just like so many folks, over the years for the ChampCar series. I mean, my first time on a hot track with other cars, ChampCar, VIR, 2017. It could be one of you.
So about tonight's racing, as always, a 60-minute race with a required pit stop based on the fixed setup. Starts with a fixed amount of fuel. Everyone's going to have to stop to take fuel in the 60-minute race. Qualifying is what is happening right now, and it is just wrapping up with 3 minutes left on the clock.
Mark Kruger gets a little loose there.
Yeah, indeed. So with a fixed setup and everyone requiring to take fuel, everyone's going to have to come to the pit lane, but they are not going to be required to take tires. What's always going to be so interesting with these street stock races is they can wear down their tires pretty quickly, these cars. Some drivers will opt to do that and spend a little bit more time on the pit lane. Strategy that unfolds could be quite interesting, but it's all got to start with qualifying. And at the minute, the front row looks like Mark McCormick and Simon Foweather, with Alex Albert and Nick Love the row behind. McCormick and Alex Albert both not out on track at the moment, so I think their times are locked in.
Yeah, and we did watch Alex put in a whole bunch of laps. I think it was nearly 20 laps trying to find that record of Mark McCormick. But Mark McCormick's showed up, same setup as everyone else, and put 6/10 on the field. So it's going to be really tough for Alex and Simon to find their way back up there if they want to challenge him. And by our back-the-napkin math, it seems like Mark McCormick wins the championship if he stays on the podium. Alex Albert needs to get pretty much the overall win in order to hold Mark McCormick off. And even that won't be enough if Mark's on the podium.
Yeah, Alex Albert, therefore, by that calculation, looking for the win and looking to share that podium with any one of Simon Foweather or Nick Love or Justin Hall, who's just set his best lap and gone into fourth ahead of Nick Love. So Justin Hall out there finding a little bit more speed still in this qualifying session. Got Charles Kowalczyk, Sean Saputra, Tim Wire, Shane Cameron improves up to 12th just as I speak. And Neil Hancock also out on the track at the minute.
Well, there's a few cars that we've seen play spoiler over the years, in this street stock, and Justin Hall is definitely one of those. He has some pace in this car that he doesn't always bring to bear, but that Ninja Turtle scheme has been in the lead pack on more than a few occasions that I can recall. Nick Love, of course, a regular in the series as well, and Ian Gibler, same for him. All three of them ought to be there, ready to play spoiler if Alex Albert makes the slightest mistake.
Indeed, and the checkered flag is about to wave, so anyone who's on a lap is going to get to finish it. Some of those cars that you saw maybe leaving pit lane are not going to get to the line in time because that is the checkered flag right now, and we've got Justin Hall on a flying lap, Nick Love on a flying lap, Sean Saputra, Charles Kowalczyk, Andrew Kosick, Shane Cameron. These guys are on their last attempt at moving up the grid.
I love how you can see these things drifting out of the corners. All four Hoosiers sliding and just trying to put the power down on the exit. And even when they turn in, the thing's going sideways.
They never quite go the direction they're looking. There's always plenty of slip angle going on. Old school construction on the tires, but there's going to be no improvement for Justin Hall. Instead, he's going to practice his pit entry. Pretty rapid pit lane speed limit here, but there is no pit lane speed limiter in these cars, like there is in a lot of other racing cars, not necessarily in the ChampCar Endurance series, but a lot of other racing cars on the iRacing service. So they've got to manage that all by themselvesies.
Give them a few years. I'm sure it'll be a free point item.
I don't think I want to get into that kind of discussion on this kind of broadcast.
We'll leave the politics related.
Exactly. So a couple more cars have come to the checkered flag. Neil Hancock is about to, and so is Shane Cameron, and I think Charles Kowalczyk as well, just the other last remaining drivers out on track. No improvement for Hancock. For Shane Cameron, I think he finds just the tiniest bit of improvement there, but not enough to move up a spot.
Yeah, that was a pretty good lap from him, but not quite enough. He did do a really nice drift through Sunset Bend, though.
Oh, that's nice then. Kowalczyk, no improvement, and therefore the last car is going to be Nick Love. He comes through Sunset Bend trying to practice a really, really tight line, and I think he's turned in a little early, not been able to maximize the power off, and he will be the last car that comes to complete a lap.
Yeah, and we can head to the grid. We saw it flash on screen there for a second, but it looks like our graphic's still broken, so we'll go down it from the top. Mark McCormick on the pole, as we mentioned, with Simon Foweather a few tenths behind him in second. Alex Albert will be following Mark and trying to keep up with his shenanigans off the start line. Justin Hall in fourth. Nick Love in fifth. Ian Gibler in sixth. Sean Spoocher in seventh. Charles Kowalczyk in eighth. Tim Wire in ninth. Andrew Kosick in 10th. Lee Muehlman is in 11th, Shane Cameron in 12th, John Patterson 13th, Mark Kruger 14th, Troy Isidore 15th, David Palermo 16th, and Neil Hancock rounds out the smallest field that we've seen this year, but it should be intense.
Exactly, going to be 2 wide rolling start for this race, as indeed all of our endurance races and all of our races here in ChampCar iRacing series. So that means Mark McCormick and Simon Foweather sharing that front row. Alex Albert's going to be starting on that second row on the inside, immediately behind his championship rival, Mark McCormick, with Justin Hall alongside. Third row is Nick Love and Ian Gibler. So that is how they are going to form up for the final race of the ChampCar iRacing series in 2021. We have had amazing racing across all 16 rounds. Well, 15 so far, but I'm predicting it's not going to be too bad here. And we've had 3 models of car in competition. We've had the NC Mazda MX-5. We've had the Volkswagen Jetta, and we've had this street stock. All of them have produced some slightly different styles of racing from how close the battles and the pace has been in the Volkswagen Jetta to Miata is always the answer to this big street stock with V8 power, but difficult suspension, difficult brakes, old school tires, a car that you really have to get on the brakes early, muscle it through the corners, and you can kick it sideways without paying too much penalty.
Yeah, these things are awesome, and they really show off the skill ceiling. You know, a couple bad corners, and you're not a tenth off. You're a second off in these things. So consistency ends up being really important too. And with a track like Sebring, where there's so many committed corners, whether it's the first one or the last one, disaster's just an inch away. And with all the pressure these guys got to be feeling, especially up at the front, I won't be surprised to see this thing decided on a critical little mistake.
Now, we're talking about that pit stop that everyone's going to have to make for fuel because they start with a fixed amount, which is not enough to go the full 60 minutes. That fuel burn from that fixed amount starts now when the car is on.
Oh, we might have lost Dave there. But anyway, as he was saying, that fuel burn starts while they're on the grid. So the real wise ones in the series here will be shutting their motors off while they wait for the pace car to get rolling. And the remainder of folks might be, just waiting waiting with the car off until they hit that starter button. Alex Albert, though, not waiting, staying right up behind. Looks like Mark McCormick there.
Yeah, new livery on for Mark McCormick. At Most Sport was definitely the Whammo Mobile. We're rocking a Piggly Wiggly scheme, it looks like, tonight.
Yeah, that's a change for Mark. We've seen him in that Whammo car all the way through, but after some of the contacting I think he made with, might have been in Fairweather last round, I wonder if he's trying to, rebrand, turn into Meta, and get a new image going on, right? So we'll see how that pans out for him.
So he's alongside the nuclear street stock of Kim Jong Fairweather on the front row. Always different livery across the different cars for Fairweather. We've seen him in the iRacing tribute Mazda. Forgetting exactly what he ran in the Jetta. But I think all season long he has been the Democratic People's Republic of street stock.
A good place to be. Of course, the Love cars, both Nick Loves and then also his teammate Charles Kowalczyk running those matching Love liveries.
Now, it's a daytime race here at Sebring. If we had a nighttime race, when the winner crosses the checkered flag, we get to see fireworks. I'm making a very early and bold prediction here. At the start of this race into turn one, we might see some fireworks.
I'm going to side with you on that one. Always exciting.
Not the July 4th kind.
Yeah, the kind that happens when you rub two fenders together.
Yeah, the kind that happens when you've got two close championship rivals and they reach the first braking zone, the first racing corner of a season finale. Behind that pace car now, and we do that full pace lap of Sebring. And again, I dropped out for a second there. Apologies, Devon. I was going to say, they're burning fuel sitting on the grid and they're burning fuel on this pace lap. So I wonder who's cruising around in second gear right now and who's cruising around in fourth, because the fuel consumption big time in these old school American Iron V8s, and the fuel filling rate at those pit stops not really keeping up with it. They can spend a long time waiting for the fuel to come in via that trickling garden hose.
I'm keeping a close eye on this start. Mark McCormick's had some interesting games in the last few rounds, and we'll see what he does this time. If he keeps his strategy of sort of hanging back like he has in the last few rounds, way far back from the pace car, or if he switches it up and tries something new. Looks like Fairweather's keeping him honest on the right.
Yep, absolutely. They'll be trying to keep a close eye on what Mark McCormick does. Alex Albert's in the perfect place to have a good view, and I don't think Justin Hall is too far off either. It's 60 minutes on the clock. It's two championship rivals going for a $1,500 prize starting up front. And they wait. Mark McCormick puts the power down out of Sunset Bend, and we go racing for the final time in ChampCar iRacing Series in 2021. Alex Albert's got to move forward quickly, and he's already trying to take second away from Fairweather. McCormick is clearing the lead right now, but they're all on cold tires, and Alex Albert sends it down the inside at one. Is it in too hot? He washes out, and McCormick is going to cleverly come back for the lead, but that's what I thought we might see. Desperation from Alex Albert, but he just wasn't close enough.
Oh, that was close. I wasn't sure he was going to keep it on the track on the exit.
So it's the championship protagonists, first and second on track. Fairweather back into third. Nick Love jumped Justin Hall, and he's up into fourth. Great racing front to back with these cars, but Albert's into the slipstream down towards the hairpin after Big Bend, but he's not as close as he was in turn number one.
Contact in the middle of the
keeping
pack.
Two cars back.
We got Andrew Kosick facing the wrong way after bumping off a Tim Wire. A couple cars off track. Jonathan Patterson and Troy Isidore losing some ground. Rest of the field's flowing through.
A huge dive from Albert causes a lock-up, and he doesn't get off the corner as well as Mark McCormick does. Story of this opening lap so far.
And keeping the tires under these things is pretty important, so these early laps are critical.
You got an update on the weather for us, Devin?
It's been getting warmer all throughout the session. 74 in the air and 80 on the track rather. Mild wind, nothing that should affect anything in these big bulky cars.
Nothing too complicated aerodynamically on these. They are pretty heavy. Huge slide coming out onto the Ullman straight for Alex Albert when he needs to be close to McCormick and in the slipstream. Our top two just starting to stretch away, but Albert not quite keeping the pressure on McCormick he would have wanted. Further Love and Justin Hall aren't too far back though.
It'll be interesting to see if Alex Albert can figure something out here, because he joined the session early but didn't start turning laps till 20 minutes in or so, and by that time Mark McCormick had already gone out and set his fast lap. So I'm not sure if if Alex can follow Mark here and maybe learn something, or if Mark's going to just keep doing what he's doing and drive away, because so far he seems to be doing just that.
7/10 or so at the minute, as both of them grab a ferocious amount of curb through this opening sector that then feeds them onto Big Bend, back around towards one of the biggest braking zones on the lap. This is a car with long braking distances as well. You've got to get on those stoppers pretty early. Oh, huge lunge from Alex Albert. A little bit of contact, but he's going to half spin himself around. He's going to half spin Mark McCormick. This is going to back him up into the three cars behind. And Alex Albert wasn't going to make that corner if it wasn't for leaning on the side of Simon Foweather. Sorry, leaning on the side of McCormick. And he's opened himself up to Foweather, who's now going to try to muscle through into second. So taking a big risk, he's put himself actually under yet more pressure.
You can tell he does not want to let McCormick get loose though, because we've seen McCormick do that. When he gets some gap and he gets away, he just tends to keep on going away.
He's at the biggest braking zone on the circuit, and Albert left it late, a little too late. He was sideways, needing to use McCormick to straighten him up. And that's what they do in these cars on short track racing though.
Good job by both of them keeping the cars pointing the right way.
I think heads up stuff by Foweather, Love and Hall behind as well to not, plow into what could have been some slow cars. They're all onto the back straight now, slipstreaming off each other as they rev up past 110, 115 miles an hour. Even faster yet by the end of the straight, as they then have to slow down but then bleed the speed off all the way in through Sunset Bend, looking for an apex somewhere in the middle, and it's slide and slide, putting the power down from Alex Albert. Not a sophisticated differential, not sophisticated tires and suspension. When you ask it to do two things at once, you can lock up a tire or kick it sideways.
We'll note that our 11th place qualifier, Lee Newman, has pulled off the track after some pretty big contact with Sean Spoocher. Looks like two of them just kind of got it wrong in the hairpin, and you know what? Spoocher didn't even make contact. Newman just made the mistakes, put it in the wall, and he was done with that. So 16 cars remain running around the track.
Shame to see that so early from someone who missed out on the last two races as well. Oh, it stays so close up the front. You saw through all of the melee, Nick Love went and set the fastest lap of the race, or should I say the fastest clean lap of the race, but also the fastest lap of the race. The shenanigans of first and second and forward, they're getting checked up by them, meant Nick Love was actually the fastest.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, our leader, our second place car, and our fifth place car haven't set a clean lap yet. That means no off tracks, no contact. So these guys are really letting it all hang out. Of course, in the ChampCar iRacing series, we don't run, we keep track of the incidents, but we don't run with an incident limit. So we let these guys use as much of the track and as much of the car as they need to when they're competing. protest forms available on the forums.
You hope it doesn't come down to that.
I hope not. But I'm just watching that last sector there, and it really seems like Mark McCormick kind of gets a better run onto the Ullman Straight through Mons and all that than Alex does. And he seems to be able to do it pretty consistently. Alex is always spinning the tires on the exit, and Mark doesn't seem to be. I have to think that that's going to come into play here, especially as these tires start to get a little warmer.
I think when the tires are cold, the car gets sideways pretty easy. Then you come into a phase where they're about where they should be, and then the tires can overheat. Past that, the cars will be a little sideways again. As they cross the line, about 6/10 in it still though, and not letting McCormick quite bolt away. Foweather and Love and Hall still in close sight too.
Alex Albert just set a lap 0.3 faster than his qualifying. Some of that's draft, but he's pushing.
In qualifying, you know what the lap time you got to beat is, but maybe you can't quite see it in a race circumstance like this. He can see the rear bumper of where he wants to be. He can absolutely visualize it. Yep, Foweather in way too hot, huge lockup, and he's going to cut across the grass and then across to the old circuit, and that's going to cost him spots. Love is through, so is Justin Hall. Foweather from starting second on the grid, going back to third, challenging for second. He's now back into fifth.
That's tough, but these are long races. He knows that well. He's been wrecked out of the lead of one and top three in another, so he'll be keeping his eyes forward. These cars really, for folks that don't get to race them that often, among the most dynamic on the platform, I gotta say. They're bucking underneath you. One tire is getting unweighted, another. It's so easy to lock one up or to get the brake pressure just that slightest bit wrong and really send them flying off the track.
And it does turn left different to how it turns right. You get a good look underneath them. They're not particularly symmetrical. You can put a road course setup on them, and you can road course race them like you see here. But don't be fooled into thinking they're some GT3 or TCR or something. They are not.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a weave from McCormick on the back straight there, by the way, just trying to maybe break that slipstream to Alex Albert. Once he's got it to a second, he wants to keep expanding it from there. I think that's what the little weave was about. It might just work for him at this point.
Yeah, Alex Albert had that right front locked up all the way into Sunset there. At 1.1 seconds at the line. Got David Palermo coming out of the pits ahead of them, though. Wonder if that'll be a factor.
Got Nick Love and having to defend from Justin Hall. Nick Love's gone shallow in, deep out, and Justin Hall will come back at him. They're side by side in towards turn 2, turn 3 here. I think Hall's got the car placement if he can get his elbows out just a little bit. And I think he will up into a podium spot. All that battling, though, lets Foweather catch him again.
Mm-hmm. Leaders are easily clearing David Palermo.
Palermo very wise to the lead battle and championship battle. It was coming his way. Basically exactly a second between those leaders. They're starting to drop third, fourth, and fifth as the battle erupts there. Palermo still in between the leaders and Hall in third. Foweather's an absolute jet, by the way, trying to get back towards third place. He's gotten so close to Nick Love in a real hurry.
Yeah, and he can see that number increasing on his relative just like the rest of us. He's going to need to get up to the front real fast if he wants to have a shot at winning this thing.
You see a lot of variation across the pit stop times from these cars, so if you can just stay within 10 seconds and you keep yourself in the hunt, because you never know what kind of pit stop the leaders might have, the other guys around you might have, and if you just get that right amount of fuel, take the right number of tires, could still happen. We're going to see drivers take 4 tires. We're going to see drivers take 2 tires. We're going to see some drivers take no tires. We're going to see some drivers take 8 gallons. Some drivers take 6 gallons of fuel. You just don't know until after all those pit stops are completed. Problem in the background there is it for...
Yeah, that was Charles Gwalchek spinning it around, trying to take that Lamaze curve and struggling to get the car back underneath him.
We lost it a little early as well. Decent recovery.
Mm-hmm. Good little battle going on here between Mark Kruger and Tim Wire as they come down the front straight, crossing the start-finish line. Kruger has been closing up a little bit on Wire over the last few laps, but Wire puts in a quick one that time. Maybe gets a little fire lit underneath him. Wire having those early issues kind of put him back a couple spots. And
he's all 4 off the road there, coming onto a critical part of the track where you can attack down into the next braking zone. And Kruger is going to give it a go. And Wire a little earlier on the brakes as well. As long as Kruger makes the corner, he's got this spot. He does get it just a little hot. A little spicy, if you will, but he'll grab the spot.
Checking back in on 3rd, 4th, 5th, Justin Hall, Nicholas Love, and Simon Fova are glued together.
Was I seeing things? Was someone in the fence there, or?
Didn't catch that in the background.
No, okay. Maybe it's too early in the afternoon for me. Yeah, very close still between 3rd, 4th, and 5th. There's a gap for the lead now out to 2.7 and potentially increasing pretty quickly.
Yeah, a little mistake for Alex Albert that time through the tower turn and was losing time all the way down the straightaway. Kind of caught the inside curve and really bicycled it through the exit.
I think Fowler, the driver, in position to potentially make a move next here, but I have the feel rolls out of the throttle a little bit before the braking zone. In fact, contact there. Love in super deep, hits the back of Justin Hall as Hall gathers it up. Fowler comes through into 3rd, so into the corner, way too deep for Nick Love. Fowler rolling out of the throttle on his way in, ended up paying super dividends.
That looked like some future scene there, but I think he was just trying to lift and coast. That was a big hit, though.
Yeah, I don't think things were so clear in his crystal ball. I think he was thinking strategy, and then seas opened in front of him, and doesn't need a second invitation. That starts to spread out our top pack. Spoiler gets back to 3rd.
Justin Hall having to use all those Ninja Turtle reflexes there to catch that car. Tim Wire.
Cowabunga dude, indeed.
I was going to say, meanwhile, Tim Wire and Mark Kruger are back together. Wire looking for a way around. Keeps all 4 tires on the track on the exit this time. Still doesn't get quite the run that Mark does out of that corner, though.
Just looks a little to the inside. They both get on the brakes at about the same point there. But Kruger's going to have the better line to hopefully smoothly pick up the throttle. Like I said, you know, you kind of do want to straighten up this car before you open up the power. Not as receptive to, having some steering input and some throttle at the same time as Mazda is.
Even though
I would pretend to know how to drive that Volkswagen Jetta. I think it's a mystery that eludes even people who win races in it.
Yeah, it's really something. It seems to like the really smooth driving, but I mean, the way it pogos over curbs also tends to come into play. So I'm not sure if there is a secret to that one. We're getting a little gap though. Wire really dives it in deep there.
It's interesting that, Kruger is getting away here, but Wire has the faster lap And an even faster lap is behind them in Kowalczyk. You remember he had that half spin that might have cost him as much as 10 seconds or so. I think he's coming at both of these guys as well. Quite a rate of knots for Kowalczyk. If he can prevent locking up that inside quite so bad, he's really driving it by the scruff of the neck quite aggressively at the moment.
Yeah, and these cars, they really visually let you know when someone's trying to push extra hard. But yeah, Kowalczyk's been coming over the last few laps, nearly a second faster than the guys ahead of him.
If he smooths it out just a little bit, I reckon this is 2 spots he can get in the next couple of laps or so, because his personal best is a full second faster than Wire and a second and a half faster than Mark Kruger. It's that average lap time where he's had a mistake or two that is hurting him, but he's right in the spot to pick up the double slipstream here. He's proven to be aggressive on the brakes. I was about to say, no way is he close enough this time, but he's just overshot it a little bit, and I think I saw all 3 cars lock up.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the differences between a really aggressive entry style and a really aggressive sort of early braking and then aggressive back on the throttle style are really exaggerated in this car when the braking zones are as long as they are.
Problem for Nick Love, he's dropped another spot there. Ian Gibler's got around him, and I think that braking zone and the braking distances are getting longer. It's starting to catch a lot of people out.
Yeah, and this car, more than most on the series, really sees the braking points move over the course of a stint as these tires wear out.
Yeah, what it let you do on lap 2, it might not let you do on lap 7. It's like a marriage. Forget I said that. Kowalczyk very, very close to Tim Wire. Wire not quite catching up to Kruger as he would have liked, but Wire is sandwiched in a spot here where he picks up the slipstream off Kruger. Kowalczyk gets the double toe, has to pull out of that slipstream. It still seems to just have enough momentum here to throw it in deep. Wire knows what's good for him. Big lockup from Kruger keeps him wide of the apex, and Kowalczyk thinks my nose can go there, and they'll be side by side off the exit here to race down towards turn 1.
And I think Kowalczyk still even got a better run with that. Oh, they're getting close together though.
And he's just going to try to ease Kruger across a little bit down the straight, and then from the wide entry into turn 1, little loose for Kowalczyk, but Kruger just can't carry speed from that position. Wire keeps close with them as well, so it is still a 3-car battle here. Kowalczyk has negotiated both of them. It's back to the Kruger-Wire battle unless we get another mistake out of Kowalczyk. And Kruger and Wire are mighty close again. Almost a little loose, and in the middle of the corner, Kowalczyk then pushes out wide, digs up some dust in both of their faces. Kruger proven to be bolder on the brakes down here than Wire, but sometimes to his detriment, but it's Shoe on the other foot, huge dive down the inside, cutting some of the track for Wire. Kruger cuts back underneath, opens up the power earlier. That's street stock battling.
Yeah, Wire must have figured that there was a gravel trap on the inside of the corner there that was going to catch him and slow him down, and luckily enough, it managed to. Meanwhile, I don't know if either of these guys are paying attention, but that's the most mid car of Andrew Kosick.
You've done it again, Jim.
I'm a very literate individual when most words are, considered.
Absolutely. No, it's okay. I'll forgive you because you can't make the same mistake next round.
We'll see about that. But yeah, sure enough, he's catching up again.
Yeah, 20 minutes into this race now, recapping. Mark McCormick 5 seconds clear of Alex Albert. Alex Albert about another 5 clear of Simon Foweather, who is being very, very consistent now that he's got that 3rd place back. Justin Hall going along with him. Nick Love has gotten himself back into 5th ahead of Gibler, who had an off. In fact, both of them had a poor lap time previous time around. And Spoocher 7th, Kowalczyk 8th. This battle over 9th and 10th still raging between Mark Kruger and Tim Wire. don't see anyone who's really taken a scheduled pit stop yet as Wire gets down the inside of Sunset on Kruger.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that the undercut's going to be the play. I mean, in this car, the tires are worth a few seconds a lap early on. We've seen the leaders now. Mark McCormick's still scraping the tops of the 218s, but Alex Albert's well into the 219s when both of them were running 217s at the start of the race. So the tires will be worth something, and it'll be interesting to see how quick the reaction is at the front. But with the amount of drop-off that you see on these tires too, you don't want to go too early because you could really compromise a race at the end of it if you get them onto the old tires or get onto very old tires at the end.
Wire and Kruger are side by side again, and Kruger's going to get this time. Wire didn't get a good run onto Big Bend, got it out wide, dug up that dirt like so many have. Now it's a big lock-up from Kruger, but Wire seems to follow him in, and Andrew Kosick is catching the both of them here. You can't miss Kosick there.
Mm-hmm. I'm watching this battle between Sean Spoocher and Ian Gibler for 6th and 7th place too, which has heated up over the last few corners. Spoocher is going to put it up the inside of the tower turn. Oh, and Gibler gives him room to race. Spoocher can't put the power down though. Looks like he still might have a bit of a run. The draft in these cars is pretty significant. Oh, and Spoocher makes a big lift.
Isn't that Palermo, the lap down car?
Oh, that makes more sense. I was trying to figure out how those two managed to get so close together all of a sudden. Okay, so Palermo lifts at a moment when Sean Spoocher's not quite expecting it, and Spoocher takes evasive action and remains about 6 seconds behind Ian Gibler up the road ahead of him.
Glad we cleared that one up.
Back to our regularly scheduled programming between Kowalczyk, Wire, and Kruger. Where's that Kosick?
Kruger, Wire, and Kosick.
There you go.
And Kosick's bearing down on both of them. Kruger goes in deep to Sunset Bend again, locks up that inside tire, but he's not alone. Everyone seems to be doing that. Palermo's around just past the apex.
And Kosick dives for the pits. He'll be the first of our scheduled stoppers.
So he's going to try to undercut this battle between Kruger and Wire. He doesn't really want to get tangled in it.
Well, that's a little interesting because
Speaking of, Kruger turns in too early, corrects back the other way. What an unconventional spin, but it's going to cost him.
And he keeps it out of the wall, so that's all you can hope for. But you can tell that these cars are really starting to get to be a handful. Meanwhile, back near the front, Justin Hall has made up some ground on Simon Foweather over the last couple laps. I think Foweather had a particularly bad one last time around.
McCormick's still in the 218s, Alex Albert 219s, Justin Hall 219s, 221 last time from Foweather. Not his best. That had suggested he lost, a second and a half or something somewhere around, presumably with a lockup or running off the track. Yeah, so 31 seconds of service for Kosick. That's the yardstick for other pit stops going forward. Are they quicker than that or are they slower than that? I remember we've had some sort of 20-ish second pit stops in the street stock at previous rounds, but no, other tracks aren't quite the fuel consumption of Sebring.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it kind of depends on how close you can cut it. I mean, we don't really know if any of these guys are trying to fuel save out there. I haven't heard a ton of lift and coast, but it could be a factor later in this race, especially if McCormick does sort of his patented, almost too fast, almost adding an extra lap onto the race.
Yeah, I think I remember Simon Foweather looked like he was a little bit when he was behind Hall and Love, but then you got clear that you don't have so much of an opportunity to save a lot of fuel. And third and fourth is the closest cars on the track at the moment.
Yeah, Justin Hall still kind of creeping up on Foweather. Really similar laps last time by. But Foweather taking a lot more curb in most places than Justin is.
Yeah, really similar lap times, but different lines around places. They were different through Sunset Bend, but everyone's different through Sunset Bend. There's no repeatable line through there, but through turn 1 as well, a lot wider entry from Justin Hall. Now in too hot there. It's going to cost him as he makes a long detour around the hairpin.
And that can catch you out, no speedo in these things, just listening to the motor, and you might show up at that corner 3-4 miles an hour faster if you're in the draft than usual. You could almost sense his displeasure as he romped on the throttle that time coming out of the corner.
Yeah, and 1 or 2 laps from the halfway point of the race, and you often find some drivers who want to make that their pit stop time, 2 sort of even stints.
Oh, no. Alex Albert had a bad one last time by a 220 to Mark McCormick's 218.4. You gotta think that his tires are starting to give up the ghost. Really seems to be kind of just listening to his car as it comes by. Really seems like he's sort of being very gentle on the throttle on the corner exit. Wonder if all that carrying on in the first few laps there has done some damage to those tires. McCormick drives by the pits. See if Alex decides to take it this time. Does not, carries on.
Got to keep an eye on that pit entrance around this point. It's a no for Foweather and Justin Hall as well. Still, this time around, we're going to get an idea of what kind of lap times Andrew Kosick is doing to see if it's going to be an undercut on Wire and Kruger.
He hasn't had a great outlap. I was just looking at the splits. But it is a little tough, these things on cold tires, so that could be a factor. Colder tires. Definitely looks more secure coming out of the corner, though. Not spinning him up real bad. Oh, and Alex Alberts had a really rough entry into the hairpin that time. That's cost him a lot. He was sideways, 30, 40 degrees to the right on the way in. Get the onboard look at it here. Oof. Yeah, that's not the quick way through there.
It's not the tyre preservation way through there either.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to cost him another 2 laps.
Yeah, I've wound back and had a look at Kosick's pit stop, and he did change all 4. And did so in, just over 30 seconds. And in fact, I think it was still waiting on the fuel even after the 4 tyres were done. So that's interesting. And now he comes out and does a 220.8. Which is faster than Wire and Kruger. And then he has a really big slide through turn 1 on those new tires.
Mm-hmm. Easy to get overconfident too once the tires start to go off. We'll be curious though. Who's going to blink first at the front? McCormick's taking the pits this time.
Race leader, championship leader on the lane. And what does he do? Because he's been caught potentially wrong-footed on the tyre strategy at some previous rounds.
Albert's in the pit too.
So Simon Foweather, so's Justin Hall. Top 4 all in just past the halfway point here. Mark McCormick has overshot his box and had to find reverse gear. That'll cost him a second or 2. Now remember, he still had 8 seconds or so in hand, but he's maybe cost himself just a little bit of it there. Alex Albert, no such dramas. And none for Foweather either. So I saw the left side.
Justin Hall had to back up.
Right side's starting to change for Mark McCormick now as well. So I think almost everyone is going to go for around here. McCormick away in 27.8 seconds. It's probably still going to hold on to that lead. Is anyone going to be close to that? Albert still going at 30 seconds, 32, 33. Everyone else a much longer stop than McCormick. Interesting.
Much
Oh,
longer.
this is a really long one for Albert now as well.
But everyone's taken north of... Alex Albert took 41 seconds. Foweather's taken 41. 45. Justin Hall took 37. Oh.
Wow.
Curious. So what is the fuel math here? Foweather's still there. I wonder if he had some damage on the car that we didn't know about. Maybe he had the fast repair unchecked? Yeah, that's a minute 7 for him, but I mean, Alex Albert 41 seconds, Justin Hall 37 seconds, Tim Wire coming out 42 seconds. So very different fuel math going on for our leaders.
Foweather, I bet you got an unsafe pit entry.
That could explain it.
He hit a traffic cone.
Well, that will slow you down, but doesn't really explain the 10 extra seconds, 20 extra seconds that we saw between McCormick and the rest of the field.
Well. Are we going to see McCormick run low on fuel? Have the others been far too conservative? Man.
Curious. Because the other thing to consider here is that different driving styles will use very different amounts of fuel too. So it could be a case where, Alex Albert's burning a bit more fuel than Mark McCormick, but nearly double? I can't imagine that.
Got to check what brand of calculators they're using on the pit stall across those two teams, because they're spitting out very different results, very different numbers.
Yeah, you don't want Justin Hall doing the math. He's had a few instances, if I recall correctly, of forgetting to put more fuel in after qualifying. Interestingly, he's getting behind Jonathan Patterson, lifting and letting him by. I don't know if that was just discretion, the better part of valor, or...
Patterson goes and murders some cones through Sunset Bend, and Justin Hall's back through. Nick Love hasn't pitted yet, so he's to the lead of the race. Kowalczyk and Spoocher to second and third, all yet to pit.
And Spoocher and Kowalczyk are back battling together. They had something going on before the pit stop started, and they've kept it going through it. 17 seconds back from the lead. That puts them in a range where Mark McCormick could catch them in the next few laps here. And if they're still on track, running until the end of their fuel tanks, it could be a factor. Light cars and all that.
There's a big lap around here at 2 minutes 17, 2 minutes 20. It'll be a while before we see the out laps and then representative laps of those leaders that just pitted. I mean, by that I mean at the end of this lap we'll know. But still, got to know, what does the pace look like for McCormick? Is he driving it gentle, rolling it around? Alex Albert, you've got to assume, can try to push on. Plenty of fuel. Looked like 4 new tires to me.
Yeah, maximum attack for him. Just riding on board with Mark McCormick from my commentary position, and he's smooth through those Le Mans curves. He just slides it all the way around. This would be really good going through Sunset here too.
He's absolutely lifting and coasting it towards the brakes as well as Mark McCormick at the back there.
Yeah.
There was
you can see his tack.
300 feet of it doing it.
Yeah, you can see his tack, really big lift and coast, and not only that, I think he had the clutch in rolling.
Well, I want to get closer and take a better look at this. Not quite doing it so much into turn 1, did you think?
No, I didn't see it there. But he was definitely 1,000 RPM idling on the way into Sunset.
There's a whole bunch of traffic in front of him as well. It's that Kowalczyk and Spoocher battle, and then someone else there as well. So he's going to hope that they pit before he catches them, because otherwise that's some cars he's going to have to pass. No blue flags waving there. And what is he doing? on the braking zone down towards Big Bend here. No clutch, but that's another, 200, 300 feet of lift and coast there. He's doing it consistently a lot of the way around. Street stock like this, heavy, not a lot of drag on it, really conserves the momentum when you roll out of the throttle. So you can give away only half a second a lap and save big time fuel with this thing into the big braking zones. But still, he's not driving it with near as much attack as he would have in qualifying in those opening laps.
Yeah, and not sure I agree with your assessment of not a lot of drag, but I mean, all the rest, absolutely. Oof, but things are getting spicy up ahead of him. He might have to push a little bit to get through this group safely. That's the 56 and Neil Hancock a lap down ahead of him, and then ahead of that is, as we mentioned, Sean Spoocher and then Charles Walsh. Now, if Hancock gets out of the way, gives him plenty of space. We'll see if the other two are sort of aware of what's going on, or if they're more focused on their battle.
And might have to pit soon.
McCormick just
slow down? Did he cut too much on the way in?
Possible.
You can get a slowdown from cutting too much, and I think the first right-hander, when he did go down the inside, might have been too aggressive.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. Anyway, you don't want to hold on to that slowdown too long. It can cost you some penalties, but clearly there's an extra load on him.
Huge sideways moment from Spoocher in front of him as well, coming onto the straight. They weren't that close, but McCormick would have seen it right as he was in the critical phase of the corner, and that can be a distraction. With all this said, there is still 22 seconds between McCormick and Alex Albert.
You gotta wonder who got this fuel call more right. I'm very curious.
Another ridiculously sideways moment from Spoocher in front.
We got these really touch and go moments here from the leader. But a couple other battles starting to close up on track too. We'll have to see how this one pans out. Cormac seems to be racing.
Spoocher seems to be defending him.
Oh. Gives him a little room there.
McCormick will cut back underneath and he'll get this spot away from Spoocher, I assume, who just didn't roll over despite the differing strategies here. Spoocher yet to pit. McCormick has, made a pit stop. Was it for enough fuel? We'll find out. I have to think probably yes, and he can coast this thing home with a 20-second lead as well.
Yeah, it definitely helps. He might have a harder time making it through lap traffic, though, than Alex Albert will, being able to hold the gas all the way to the end of the straights. McCormick can clear air. Meanwhile, Simon Foweather and Ian Gibler are pretty close together. Foweather, of course, taking that, what we're assuming was a penalty on the entry, is now trying to push his way back past Ian Gibler, but Gibler shuffled himself a little bit out of position by taking, by having some issues earlier on in the race. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but either way, two of them pretty close on pace and pretty close on track.
Yeah, and it's a proper battle because both those cars have made their pit stops. The only three drivers that haven't pitted, I don't think this is a coincidence, are all Love Racing. It's Nick Love, Charles Kowalczyk, and Sean Spoocher. So everyone else has made their pit stops. And so, real battle for final position at the end here between Gibler and Foweather.
Oh, and Foweather misses a gear on the exit of the turn. You hear rev away and they grind, find your way in. I've been on the wrong side of that a few too many times.
It's a 4-speed, manual transmission in these things, and you don't really need to bang up and down the gears particularly often on an oval track with these. Ideally, you'd want to hold it in fourth. But here, using everything from second and third and fourth, probably a lot of third and fourth, maybe only second at that hairpin.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me, but you can use the gearbox to kind of unsettle the car and get it churning if you catch some understeer in the middle of the corner. So could have been a case of that where, Foweather wasn't quite satisfied with his line on entry and tried to shake it up with a little clutch kick. Definitely a tighter line from full weather though, and he'll get the clean run on. Oh, clean
runs
run.
right up the back of Ian Gibler. Massively different lines. Did Gib miss a gear there that time?
That might have been it.
Foweather had a monstrous run, but he knew it. He wasn't going to just run up the back of.
At that point in the corner too, there's you're kind of stuck on the line. You either lift and even if you lift, you almost can't brake.
Gibler comes over the radio just to confirm our theory, which is very nice of him to make us look like we have half a damn clue what's going on. So great run from Foweather. Gibler couldn't catch the gear. Now they're going to run too wide across the hairpin here, and I think nuclear-powered Foweather was in the good spot until he got one of the tyres on the dirt with the traction, got it a little sideways, and they're going to be even coming down to the next corner. But I think, Foweather is going to get in front here eventually. A little bit of a hit car-to-car that neither of them were expecting.
I don't know if our broadcast can catch this, but Mark McCormick just overtook Charles Kowalczyk coming out of the Le Mans curve there, and Charles Kowalczyk was about 7 different kinds of sideways, and he takes the pits now. But about 7 different kinds of sideways, and McCormick really had to take some evasive action to dodge and went straight through the DRS board on the side of the track.
I'll apologise for my filthy metric language. 72 km/h pit lane speed limit here, and Kowalczyk was doing 100 as he crossed those yellow cones. So what's that? That's doing 60 in a 40 zone, isn't it?
Yeah, 45, but sure enough. And then he slid over his pit box too, so not the finest result.
Do you think those tyres are done?
Yeah, I think they're pretty well finished.
Yeah. Cut him up and make him into a, kids swing underneath a tree. I don't think put him on a race car anymore.
Yeah, those might be suited to tire barriers at this point.
So Kowalczyk stops. Nick Love and Sean Spoocher are still out there on a very long stint from the start of this race. Almost 45 in, 16 minutes to go.
I mean, Nick Love is doing big lifts and coasts. It's got to be said. I can't imagine that he manages to stretch this all the way to the end, but I mean, maybe he thinks he can.
I want to say no freaking way, but
I mean, with McCormick taking 20 seconds less fuel, there's got to be some savings that are available for these guys. Now, his last time by was a 2:29, which I think must have been, there must have been some sort of interference there, but I don't know. And then he doesn't lift that time going into sunset, hardly, so I don't know. I'm not sure what Nick Love's doing.
I reckon we're going to see him stop, and then I was mid-sentence and I could have just bailed out of that one, but no.
Thanks for the accountability. You're wrong. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on what's going on there. Nick Love has a 9-second lead on Mark McCormick right now, and about a 30-second lead on Alex Albert. So that puts about 20 seconds between McCormick and Albert, which could be a factor if fuel becomes an issue. But let's check back in on Foweather and Gibler, who, despite their little contact earlier, is still relatively close on the track, and of course, as we mentioned, both on the same strategy.
And I have a feeling like these are two names we've seen almost all year, two drivers who are going to be in that hat for the prize.
Absolutely, and Gibler's had a pretty solid season. Last time we calculated up the points, he was sitting in 7th, just behind Foweather in 6th. So these two are racing for pride certainly, and have seen a lot of each other on track this season.
So Sean Spoocher pitted. He's got an intermediate amount of fuel with 35 seconds there, so that kind of splits between McCormick and what some others have been doing. We've only got Nick Love yet to pit. The gap between McCormick and Albert has actually been increasing, I think, on average.
Very.
It's such an interesting little, you know, interesting sort of 20-ish seconds where if McCormick needs to save a little bit of fuel, absolutely he can do it. He can give away 2 seconds a lap from here until the end, you know, coasting at 500 feet into every braking zone. No dramas. But if he can't do that, and he does need to make a splash, he doesn't have anywhere near the lead to be able to go through the pit lane. So
yeah, like
I think
40-second pit lane transit.
Yeah. It's looking good for McCormick so long as he makes that fuel last.
No lift from McCormick that time, you know, into the sunset. So maybe he's done enough to save the fuel. Ooh, it's a real sideways.
Nick Love is going to pit, and that cycles our leaders back through. So McCormick to the lead from Alex Albert, Justin Hall, Simon Fairweather, Ian Gibler. Andrew Kosick did manage to quite significantly undercut Tim Wire and Mark Kruger, so he's up in at 8th ahead of that duo still battling over 9th and 10th.
I'll note Nick Love did make 20 laps on that tank of fuel, that initial tank of fuel. So I'm not sure what that tells us, other than that it is possible to go really far on one tank of fuel in these things. Currently, for context, Mark McCormick's on lap 13. Sorry, on lap 7. So you got to think if he filled up almost to where full was, a big lift that time into the hairpin, then he might be okay. There's what, 6 laps left, maybe?
I think
plus or minus, maybe 7, depending on how
plus
fast
or minus. That's always tough here. It's again, you know, a 2-minute 20 lap. We had these cars at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and that was a much quicker lap. So if it went, you know, an extra lap, not quite the problem that some of the drivers would face here.
Mm-hmm. Curious. I'm interested to see how this one plays out.
Because we're not seeing that lift and close quite so much from McCormick now, but there were definitely points where it was unmistakable what he was doing.
Well, the other thing that occurs to me is I wonder if he's trying to play, like if he's close to adding an extra lap, and he's trying to back it up enough that he doesn't accidentally add that extra lap, because this is a timed race. So he could be, you know, maybe trying to play some games there. I'm not sure though. He's definitely smooth and really taking care of the tires with this strategy.
Yeah, a bit of traffic initially, but he was kind of patient there, and now it's a whole lot of clear track for him, where, you know, he got kicked a little sideways in Sunset a while back, but other than that, he's not overdriving it, as he has to negotiate Palermo.
Oh, Nick Love's come out, and he's only about 10 seconds behind Justin Hall, so just off the podium for him. And Hall's tires are going to be 8 laps older than Nick Love's, 7 laps at the line. So he's definitely got some pace on Love, or sorry, on Hall. You got to expect. So that could get a little closer here before the end too. Justin Hall's got to deal with some traffic shortly here. He's coming up on the likes of Neil Hancock. Hancock's been pretty proactive about jumping out of the way, so we can follow and see if that continues to be the case.
Devin, can I rain on your party?
Yeah.
Nick Love didn't take any tires.
Oh, that's a heartbreak. I was looking at the time since stopped, not the laps since stopped, not the laps on tires.
Which, to me, is an interesting strategy that there would have been time to take him with the amount of fuel he took. He just didn't.
Well, I mean, testing, he might not have done the math just yet. He was easily the fastest of virtually everyone who stopped that we saw. So maybe he was thinking that he saved enough fuel that the tires wouldn't be free anymore. Lots of interesting arithmetic at this phase of the race. Anyway, 8 minutes to go, and we'll see what transpires. Mark McCormick holding on to a solid pace at the front. 2:19 flat last time by, 2:19.5 for Alex. But things are stretching out. Alex got all four locked up into the sunset that time too. He's not holding anything back.
$2:19.5 into a 2:19.6. Looking like it ought to be 4 more to go.
Mm-hmm. And Mark McCormick just nursing this lead up to 23 seconds. Justin All 34 seconds behind him. And then Nick Love 46 seconds off the lead. Really, honestly, a masterful performance from Mark McCormick this year. But, he consistently has shown up to races, shown up with a lot of speed. He's been very prepared. I guess he might technically be in line for a prize here, so maybe we could call it a professional effort. But we've heard from him consistently that he's putting in the time in advance, and really the kind of guy that you might want to put in a car with that kind of dedication. And looking at the statistical side of things, 5,600 I rating, I think that puts him solidly in the top 2 or 3% that race on the service.
I think that's correct. I did see the distribution curve of I ratings at one point. What makes you 1%? What makes you top 10%?
It's pretty good company to be in, anyways. Certainly among the fastest drivers that I'm aware of. Lifts. He coasted from 500 feet before the corner that time.
Oh boy, interesting. But with just under 6 minutes on the clock, you can guarantee it's 3 to go.
Oh yeah, we're on max save though.
Still a 2:19 on that lap, so he then carries good speed to the apex, but
yeah, he's barely even pushing it past 5,000 on the tack though at this point. And you don't necessarily want to ring this V8 all the way out, but you want to get it a little higher than that. And then of course he proves me wrong as we hit straight and he goes all the way up to about where you'd want to shift it. But again, lift,
clutch in,
and clutch, yeah.
Do you shift? I think I saw 3 downshifts there, right? It's first, or am I imagining things? Anyway, yeah, he's still got 23 seconds of lead to play with 3 laps to go. It's lift and coast, but no clutch this time. Every braking zone he's doing something right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, this keeps you busy in the cockpit. I've done a few fuel save runs though. I don't think anything quite as extreme as this. And yeah, you really have to have your head on a swivel and be focused in a car like this when you're trying to manage that much in the braking zone.
He's off throttle again, coming towards this section of corners where I do believe he picked up a slowdown that while back. Got to keep one tire inside of the yellow lines. And he's good this time.
He lifts in the left-hander at Bishop Bend almost, and then he rolls it all the way nearly to Le Mans Curve. But still not really losing. not really losing anything, lap time wise from the guys behind.
Also see at the line is it's definitely going to be 2 more laps of Sebring to close out this season. The lap time again is still in the 2:19s. He's so smooth, so precise, despite some very obvious fuel management. That's endurance racing, though, isn't it? If that's what it takes to make your car do the stint length, then that's the fastest way of going about it.
Yeah, we did hear a big lift into that one again. Pretty smooth sailing out there for the rest of the field, in case you were wondering. Alex Albert, 22 seconds back now. Justin Hall, 36. Nick Love, 47 back. Simon Foweather and Ian Gibler about 5 seconds apart, about a minute behind the leader. With Sean Spoocher another 8 seconds behind that in 7th. Cossack, he's running 8th, about a minute 20 behind the leader. Tim Wire, a minute 30 behind the leader. Oh, and actually Tim Wire's just stuffed it into the wall. I'm not sure exactly what caused that one. Just gets it a little wrong. I'd call it
maybe the commentator's curse.
Yeah, said his name. Yeah, that was a bummer. I just got away from him there. Anyway, Mark Kruger takes that spot away, now running 9th after battling with Tim pretty well through the whole race there. Troy Osador running 10th now. Charles Kowalczyk will be in 11th, Jonathan Patterson in 12th, the last car on the lead lap, and then Neil Hancock and David Palermo both looking to have Hancock still lapping, Palermo retired, but both of them have completed the 50% component, so they'll be getting their participation credit and their eligibility for that $1,500 draw, which might be down to as few as 17 eligible contestants after Shane Cameron and Lee Muehlman didn't make the finish line today. So pretty good odds. I'd like to be in a 1 for 17, $1,500 draw. That'd be nice.
I think so. It'll be in the hands of our friends at ChampCar when they draw that, and how they draw that, and who draws that. But we can definitely look at the points situation and say that the way it finishes right now, Mark McCormick would be the points overall leader. And you'll see him on the track somewhere in ChampCar Endurance Series next season.
Hope he gives himself a lap or two before he starts trying to do all this fancy lift and coast stuff in the real car. We get the broadcast booth to throw us in the cockpit here for this last trip through the hairpin, just so you can get a sense of just how far back he's rolling off the throttle. This is really something else.
Way before the mobile bridge, he's on the clutch, and he holds the clutch all the way through to the apex of the corner, not just the braking zone there. So
2 downshifts.
Get out and push if you need with the 22-second lead he's still got, but this does appear to be getting a little more desperate as time goes on. That's a pretty early shift.
Yeah, he's saving everything he's got, but I mean, he only lost 4/10 on the last lap to Alex Albert, so he's doing this, but he's just got amazing pace out there.
I mean, it's kind of a thing once the tires wear in.
I think we've lost Mr. Haynes again, but yeah, it does suit this car to do a lot of saving, and we've seen that win races before, but I don't think we've ever seen an effort quite like this one. Doing a really good job, and it's tough to control a neutral car like this, when a guy doesn't have any input, any throttle, only brakes to kind of stabilize the car and keep it from rocking and swaying back and forth. And Mark McCormick comes through that last Le Mans curve one more time and sends it down towards sunset, and if he runs out of fuel here, he might still make it to the line.
Yeah, I'm thinking 22 seconds lead. If he could just clutch in from here to the line, he'd still make it to be an 8th win this season. The checkered flag is going to be waiting for him. He might even splutter on his way out of Sunset Bend, but he's done all the right stuff, taken some of the big wins, and he's going to be the 2021 ChampCar iRacing Series champion with all that entails. Mark McCormick, from his first season in this championship, is going to break the spell of reigning champion Alex Albert with the win in the final round.
And what's got to be a heartbroken Alex Albert crosses the line 20 seconds behind. Just didn't have the pace in this round and through the last half of the season, really, to sort of bring it to Mark McCormick. Justin Hall, part-timer on the series this season, but shows off some of that pace that we mentioned in the pre-race, brings it home on third place. And then Nick Love and Simon Foweather. Nick Love crossing the line in fourth, and Simon Foweather coming through the Sunset Bend, rounding out the top five and locking up that sixth place in the championship for Foweather, maybe even fifth once all the drop weeks are calculated. Gibler crosses the line behind him in seventh.
I think one of the most interesting things to watch on this final lap is Troy Isidore might be coming at Mark Kruger. There's 2 seconds there, and Isidore's been chipping away at Kruger. Might not happen, but again, big lap here means the drivers who were just on the lead lap still, 2 minutes behind the leader and coming around to take that checkered flag, and the checkered flag might save Kruger. So long as he's got enough fuel, didn't really see hints of anyone else running out at the end here. So Kruger to the line, followed by Isidore, Charles Kowalczyk, and Tim Wire, who lost out some big spots right at the end there.
Yeah, crosses the line with a nice, suitably bent up street stock.
And that's everyone to the checkered flag. So let's look at our results from round 16. Sebring, the final round of ChampCar iRacing Series in 2021. Jonathan Patterson takes the line. So Mark McCormick, the winner from Alex Albert, Justin Hall completing the podium, then Nick Love, Simon Foweather, Ian Gibler, Sean Spoocher, Andrew Kosick, Mark Kruger, and Troy Isidore, our top 10. Both Kruger and Isidore up 10 spots across this race. I have a feeling like Mark McCormick is going to be doing some burnouts on the start-finish line if he's got any fuel left to do them.
You left him coasted.
Kowalczyk, Wire, Jonathan Patterson, Neil Hand, David Palermo, Shane Cameron, and Lee Muellerman. I say Devin. He lifted and coasted right at the end just so he had enough fuel to do these burnouts.
Yeah, I was watching to see how far he'd get around the next lap, and little shortcuts, but doing some burnouts to celebrate what was an excellent race on his part, and feeding Earl some smoke up there.
Still going somehow.
Burning that thing to the ground. He was shutting it off on the last lap on his celebration lap there. See if it runs out of fuel or if it runs out of... looks like it ran out of fuel. Ooh. Well.
I'm the same.
And we've critically lost David Haynes again. We'll see if he's able to make it through the interviews here. But anyways, wrapping it up, and I see none other than Justin Hall loitering around and waiting for his chance to get interviewed. Solid race out there, Justin Hall. Looked like you were in fifth and then fourth and then ends up third. So how you feeling after that big race?
Yeah, felt pretty good to be back. I was definitely not expecting that. I saw looked like Simon got a pit speeding penalty or something like that, and so yeah, just felt great out there.
Yeah, it looked like you really managed to find some pace, especially on that second stint. Was surprised to see you end up taking, fairly significantly less amount of fuel, about 7 seconds less than Alex Albert there, and but still almost 9 seconds more than Mark McCormick at the front. Did you guys have a sense that he was fuel saving up there?
You know, yeah, I didn't have my fuel calculator running properly, so I was kind of relying on his information, and I just, I, I knew how many laps were going to be roughly, so I tried to just plan it off of that. Yeah, Mark was so far ahead, I didn't really see what he was doing. And then Alex, I know he was complaining that he took too much fuel, so yeah, it must have been fuel saving like crazy up there.
Yeah, it was pretty wild to watch. But yeah, solid race for you, and it was looked like pretty smooth sailing once you managed to clear Nick and Simon. So congratulations on your third place finish. Anyone you need to thank out there?
Yeah, thanks, man. It was you know, thanks to all you guys for everything you do, and the organizers putting on the show, and ChampCar, and congrats to Mark on the season win, and of course, lots of love to my beautiful wife Erica, and my brother Steven, who is staying up late to let me continue racing.
Hey, nice. Glad to hear it. Thanks for coming by.
See you guys.
Hey, you back in the booth?
I think I'm on the line. We'll see how long it stays. Works every day except, when you want it to.
Well, I think I see Alex Albert wandering by. I can pull him in here for you.
Well, Alex, you move forward from your grid spot, but I don't know, it must be a bit bittersweet for you today.
Yeah. All in all, it was a good year, better year than everyone but one driver. So, Mark put together a good season, and he was the faster car today. If we could have maybe had some breaks earlier in the season, maybe some different races, maybe it would have gone different. But I've had a good run. 3 in a row is pretty good. I'm sure there's lots of people that are, ready to see a different champion. So, yeah, it's tough, but in a way, it's a relief that it's over.
I mean, you've gone from, the iRacing hotshot trying to make a name in the ChampCar Endurance Series to a VAR 24 winner. Now maybe it's someone else's turn.
Yeah, and don't forget, I also won Watkins Glen. But
I'd want to forget, but you'd keep telling us.
Right. Yeah. So, I've been lucky. I've been able to take my success in iRacing, use it to translate it to the real world. Been lucky enough to get hooked up with the guys over at Pinky's Out. They're great. They've taken me on. They've allowed me to win some races in the real world. I was just talking to Mark in the green room before this, asking him where he thinks he's going to go with his free entry, and he's just not sure yet. So I hope he finds a good ride, and I hope he can parlay his success here into have the same kind of good fortune that I've had.
Let's see if I stay on the line long enough to bring this one home. Alex, just want to know about today's race. What did the street stock feel like to drive at Sebring?
It's changed some over the season. At the beginning of the season, it was a little bit harder to drive than it is now. As far as overall grip, the brakes being a little harder to manage. Then at some point during in the middle of the year there, it got easier to drive through changes to the software. Tires got a little bit grippier. It was really hard to break traction off the corners, and now where it's at, I think the tires are back to more where I'd like to see them. You can slide it sideways, controlled through the corners. You can break them loose on corner exit. The brakes are definitely different than they were earlier in the year. They braking distances seem to be longer, but yet it's easier to manage the pedal. So it's definitely been something we've had to keep up with, and it's a lot of fun. This might be the last race of the Street Stock in the series. So if it is, I've had a good time with it, and yeah. And before I go, I just want to thank, all the competitors for coming out. It's a long season, 16 rounds, and, to have a good turnout again tonight, and, see a lot of these same faces at the track, and then every couple weeks here in the virtual world, it's just been really great.
It sounds like we've lost David Haynes again. Anyways, it was a solid effort out there, and I could tell you were racing your heart out, especially through the first half. So it was a pleasure to have you. Anyone you need to thank for your race tonight?
I just want to thank, though. Well, I guess first of all, I need to thank my wife. None of this would be possible without her support. And then I think I just want to thank the whole ChampCar community, starting at the top with Dana, the board of directors for supporting this, all the friends that have made the paddock along the way, and you guys for putting on this broadcast. So yeah, I just think it's a great thing that we have, and hopefully we can build it bigger next year and increase the car counts and be even more exciting. So hopefully we put on a good race out there tonight. Guys in the pit, well, I picked up a local kid to do my fuel calcs, and you guys know how the Florida education system is. So, we just had too much gas and weren't able to fight for it. But we'll come back next year and see if we can snag another championship in year 5 of the ChampCar iRacing series.
I look forward to seeing what you do next year. Cheers, man.
Thanks. Cheers.
And coming into the booth now, I've got Mark McCormick here. Haynes, you back yet?
Yes, but we'll see how long I stay. Congratulations, Mark McCormick, your 2021 ChampCar iRacing Series winner. Is that a good feeling after a long year?
Oh man, it's such a relief because not having any drop weeks, I knew it was going to be really tight with Alex all the way through to the last race. So I feel like I can breathe now.
You didn't start as many races as he did, but you won more than he did. I count this your 8th win, out of 16. That's, a 50-50 strike rate of the season, but even stronger from the ones you did show up for.
Yeah, it just shows the power of the drop weeks, and the power of being consistent in this league and showing up as often as you can, at least 14 times out of 16, as much as you can. It's the best.
Well, what do you think 2022 is going to look like for you as reigning champion?
Well, I would like to continue to compete here on the iRacing League. Had a lot of fun, and anxiety battling to the end on the points table. For me, I'm hoping to get a few more real life races in next year and not just crappy Lemons cars. Step up into decently put together actual cars.
Oh, it sounds like we might have lost Haynes again. Well, that's good to hear. Any tracks in particular that you're targeting for next year?
Road America stands out. I don't know if that's just because it's the closest. But I mean, how do you say no to Road Atlanta and VIR and Daytona and Sebring and Barber? I have no clue, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of history out there at Elkhart Lake, so that would be an excellent first choice, and I have it on pretty good authority that it's a great time diving down into Turn 1 and pretty much anywhere around there. So I think that would be a very suitable choice. Yeah, man, it was very impressive. I got to say, we were watching along and watching you do some pretty heroic lifting and coasting there all the way through the race. How was that on your end?
I actually had enough fuel to run through the race without without having to save it all. But I wanted to do donuts on the finish line. And if you haven't seen my attempt at the donuts, just don't bother. They're really bad. I should have just used the gas to finish the race like normal.
Don't worry, we're just showing it in slow motion on the on the broadcast. So
Very, very good.
But yeah, that was pretty excellent, man. Anyone that you need to thank for your performance tonight?
Well, I'd like to thank you guys for putting all this on. I know it takes a lot to organize stuff with real organizations such as ChampCar and, get these prizes put together. And congrats to whoever wins the raffle. I don't know when you guys do that. So thanks to you guys for putting on the work, and my family, my wife for putting the kids to bed, all kicking and screaming while I do this with you guys.
Well, thank you for coming up and putting on a show.
Yep. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next year.
Haynes, you back yet?
Again, who knows for how long, but let's bring it home quick then, Devin, and you jump in if I drop out. Thank you everyone for watching the ChampCar iRacing series in 2021, and I got to mirror the thanks of our champion and our now dethroned previous reigning champion when I say thank you to ChampCar, the board of directors, and everyone who supports this championship and makes the awesome prizes possible. Thank you to Devin Peters and Michael Derby, who've been alongside me for this coverage all season long. And, we hope to be back next year, bigger and better, maybe some format tweaks, maybe some changes there. But everything we hear from all of our drivers says they want to be back. And this year has been a leap up from the previous season. What an amazing championship we have had. Congratulations to our winner, Mark McCormick. We look forward to seeing you on the track in 2022. Devin, you got any closing thoughts here?
Can't wait till the next one, Haynes.
Beautiful. From 2021 ChampCar iRacing Series, good night, and we hope to see you in 2022.